as 10 devices. And back to this morning's breaking news. Shots fired in Ferguson, Missouri, and at least one man is in critical condition there after exchanging gunfire with police. This all happening during protests marking 1 year since the fatal shooting of unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown by a white police officer. This is St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmar early this morning.
He engaged the officers at the time. There were 4 officers who were in that van. All 4 fired at the suspect, and the suspect fell there. Suspect is in a local hospital. He is in critical, unstable condition in surgery.
Joining me now is the Conservative Review's chief political correspondent and Fox News contributor, Deneen Borelli. Deneen, lost in most of this discussion is that the officer involved in the Michael Brown shooting, Darren Wilson, was cleared of all charges. Your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, this is what was viewed as a mostly peaceful demonstration. You had individuals who inserted themselves. They basically hijacked this demonstration. What individuals need to realize is the fact that, and it's very unfortunate, that there are elements in the black community who still believe that the hands up, don't shoot narrative is what's the truth. And it's a total lie. The forensic evidence disputed all of that. But what's really unfortunate is the fact that we have black leaders in America who have not come out against the hands up, don't shoot. President Obama, Eric Holder, when he was the Attorney General at the time, local leaders, you name it. And so when you have this narrative, this lie that is prevalent in this community, you have people who are going to act out against it, and that is what we've witnessed with Ferguson.
And earlier we were talking about the economic drivers behind this sort of, behind this violence. Where do you stand as far as the adverse impact that the economy has, particularly on young black Americans,
sure,
in particular this area?
Yeah, well, unemployment is still close to double digit in the black community. It just ticked down slightly, 9.1%. It's been in the double digits since 2008 when President Obama took office. So what are the incentives? Where are the opportunities in these communities? You have these failing public schools. You have individuals who are seeking opportunities elsewhere, which are not in their best interest and not in the best interest of the communities. And so what are the economic incentives? When you had the riots that happened within this community, businesses were shut down, small businesses, they're not going to come back, or it's hard for them to come back. Yeah. So that's a lack of jobs right there that's happening in these local communities.
Yeah, and Liz, talking about the economic, the lasting economic impact of something like this. I mean, it sticks around for a long time and potentially exacerbates the situation that already existed.
Yeah, that's right, Sandra. So the images coming out of Ferguson, sure, I mean, business leaders and people who impact economic policy saw those images, and you want to say to yourself, do you want to invest in an area like Ferguson? I'll tell you again and again, whenever we see a financial collapse, whether it's Greece, whether it's Ferguson, whether it's any city in the United States, political leaders have to take a real gut check and say, what will be best for our community? Will it be economic growth? Will that help? And instead, now we have the Justice Department, I think, they're in talks with Ferguson over police reforms. And yeah, there was that scathing report by the agency that the police were using excessive force and routinely targeting blacks. So we know that storyline and that report and those reforms could come out imminently. But I think the broader picture, and Deneen, and you've been talking about it, is what does the city need? What will help the population? And that are jobs and economic growth.
Not to mention, Morgan, we're talking about more gun violence in the city of Chicago over the weekend, as we do see the violence rate in some U.S. cities continues to rise.
Yeah, but I think we've seen a beautiful example of how to handle these situations in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, I was so touched by the people of the church and how they responded. And it may sound trite, but I think if there's a way for us as a community, both police officers and the affected black communities, to come together, it's going to take more than just one solution. I think we could all learn in Chicago and Ferguson from the example set in Charleston.
It's interesting. I have a cousin who's a local television reporter in St. Louis, and I saw she was tweeting out a coffee with a cop, something that the community outreach program, they're trying to do something, I guess, to sort of along those lines. Can things like that work, or does it go back, Deneen, to the narrative coming out of Washington?
Sure.
We need to hear from the president. We need to hear his condemnation of these acts.
Well, it's going to take all citizens to come out against these efforts. Listen, Louis Farrakhan just last week said, "Kill those who kill us."
That's really productive.
I have not seen this in the news. So you have this man who is supposed to be a leader. He has a huge following. People are feeding into this. And this is what we are up against right now. And it's important for all Americans to come out and speak up when this nonsense
and denounce
happens.
that kind of poison.
Absolutely.
Because that's what it is poison.
But we really need Hillary Clinton to speak as well. I mean, at the National Urban League, she took the opportunity to hit Jeb Bush instead of coming together at the moment. So it's, I don't know what you think about what Hillary Clinton said or what the GOP candidates have said. But, I believe that these GOP candidates and Hillary Clinton need to be more vocal about what they're actually going to do.
All right, I want to thank Deneen Borelli. We're actually going to see you next hour. It's great to get your perspective on this story as it develops this morning. We're going to have more on you out of St. Louis this morning for you. We'll